Hello, everybody. Welcome to number 17 of A Minute or Two with Bob. I think it's 17. I think I screwed up the numbers and doubled up one down below, but we'll go with 17. So when I graduated from college in my early 20s, I took a job in retail management, and I did that for almost 5 years. I decided that, it wasn't something I wanted to do the rest of my life. I really didn't like it. So I went back to college and took some classes to get my teacher certification. And while I was getting my teacher certification, I worked part-time, like 24 hours a week or whatever, at a convenience store for some spending money and stuff. So working at a convenience store is, it's okay. But one thing I noticed was how many people came in and bitched about gas prices. Gas would go up like 3 cents. Let's say you're getting 8 gallons of gas. That's 24 cents. So you're coming in, you're bitching at a minimum wage clerk over a quarter. I always thought that was strange, just how many people did that. But I do know people like to complain, a lot of people, which is sad, but it's the way it is. One time I remember we were working, this young lady and I were working, and we had to work New Year's Eve. It was 3 to 11 shift. We weren't real thrilled about working New Year's Eve. Now, the convenience store where I worked at, we sold beer and we sold wine coolers. So we decided if we have to work New Year's Eve, we're going to buy some wine coolers and we're going to sip on wine coolers while we work. And, we didn't get drunk, but we had a couple wine coolers and we just kind of did our own thing for New Year's Eve. But, when I think about that, I think about wouldn't working be a lot better if you were allowed to have a few drinks at work? I mean, just think of those boring meetings, these staff meetings. They got these overhead things up and projections. They're talking about projections and they're talking about trends and you're trying not to fall asleep. Wouldn't it be more fun if you were drinking and that would be karaoke instead? I think that would be a little more interesting. And instead of working with background music that's like elevator music, like Muskrat Love or something, you'd have some Aerosmith going, you'd be hyped up. You have a question for You have a question for a coworker, and it's some boring question. Instead of just going up and asking the boring question, you're like, "Hey, how you doing?" Instead of looking at employees and thinking, "Well, that person ain't doing anything. I hate that person." If you were drinking, everybody'd be like, "Oh man, you're the greatest. I love you, man." So I think drinking would spice things up a little bit at work and make it more pleasant. So when I was working at the convenience store, one thing was always people that would come in and they would linger around the counter, sometimes 10, 15, 20 minutes. And they would just stand there and talk to you. And they would tell you all kinds of things. It's like being a bartender, only a bartender can, someone's telling you weird things to a bartender, the bartender can just think, well, they're drunk, or it's the alcohol. When you're working in a convenience store and people are standing there pouring out their heart to a stranger and no alcohol is involved, you're like, oh my God, this person's really out there. It just always blew my mind how many people wanted to just stand there and talk to a complete stranger about nothing or either that or share intimate details. But overall, I liked the convenience store working thing. It was a fun way to see people without going out and stuff. So I did enjoy it. And one thing about working in a place like that, you can check people out in a socially acceptable way and a legal way. Okay, take care, everybody.